From Tel Aviv, Senior Advisor to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Excellency Mark Regev. Let me start with you by asking you first about the humanitarian assistance. There are some efforts being exerted for the assistance to enter to Gaza, and this assistance is very important. And Israel is basically targeting the Palestinian side from Rafah crossing. What do you think about this issue? Why aren't the Israelis responding?
We are responding. We do not want to see unnecessary suffering amongst Gaza's civilian population. Our enemy is the Hamas terrorist organization, and it is Hamas that we are targeting, not the people of Gaza. But Hamas is brutal, and Hamas, as you know, massacred our people on Saturday a week ago, and we cannot stand for that, and we are acting to defend ourselves. But Hamas is not just Israel's enemy. Hamas is the enemy of all people who want to live in peace, and Hamas is the enemy of the people of Gaza. We have two examples on the issue that you raised, the humanitarian issue, just from yesterday. One example was there was petrol tankers entered the Gaza Strip for humanitarian support, and there is clear information that their petrol was stolen. Petrol that could have funded civilian generators in hospitals for days was stolen by Hamas for its war machine. And there was also another example yesterday where there was an arrangement agreed to for foreign nationals to depart through the Rafah crossing in the south into Egypt. And here again, Hamas prevented that from happening. It's almost as if Hamas sees the entire civilian population of the Gaza Strip as a human shield. They are all hostage to its terrible terror machine.
Our reporter said that there's basically an unprecedented, or there's an imminent ground invasion that will happen by Israel. What do you think about an imminent ground invasion, especially that this might lead to a lot of losses, whether it is from the Israeli army side or the people? What do you think about this invasion?
You are correct. A ground invasion would entail losses for the Israeli forces involved. And of course, there will be damage in Gaza, much damage. But this is something we have to do, something we need to do. It's not something that we wanted to do. On the contrary, we were hoping to live with the people of Gaza in peace. You must remember that Israel pulled out of the Gaza Strip in 2005. We took down all the settlements and we went back to the 1967 line. There's no reason whatsoever for conflict between Israel and Gaza. There is no occupation, as is said. Gaza was given its autonomy, its freedom when we left. Unfortunately, Hamas took over, and like ISIS, took over territory in Iraq and in Syria and made a terrorist enclave. Hamas has done the same in Gaza. And just as ISIS was defeated in Iraq and Syria, we will defeat them in Gaza. Israelis will not agree to go back to the status quo before October 7th. We will not live with this threat on our border. We will destroy Hamas's military capabilities, and we will dismantle its government structure. The Gaza Strip at the end of this operation will
Excellency,
be...
excuse me for the interruption. As you are talking to me right now, we are witnessing the bombs, Israeli bombs on Gaza. So what do you think, is there a timeline for these Israeli bombs or for this war in general?
I can tell Hamas that they should worry. We will continue to target them. We will destroy them. We will eliminate them, their political structure in Gaza. We will smash, we will crush their military machine. Hamas must fear us. The innocent civilian population of Gaza, please heed the advice we are giving. Move away from Hamas targets. Move away from combat zones. You know Gaza better than anyone else, any outsider. You know where Hamas is. Move away from Hamas. Move away from where there will be vicious fighting. Please accept our instructions, accept our advice, move away from combat zones. We are working with the international community to create a safe haven somewhere in the south. This will hopefully come together soon. We are not targeting the innocent civilians. In fact, the absurdity is Israel, which is seen by many as the enemy of the Palestinian people, is making a maximum effort to avoid innocent Palestinians getting killed. On the other hand, Hamas, which claims in its bravado to talk about safeguarding the Palestinians, they are actually doing everything they can to hurt the Palestinian people, using them as human shields. When we say vacate combat areas, they say, no, you must stay. You must become martyrs for our crazy extremist ideology. They put up roadblocks to prevent people from evacuating the north. I think this should be condemned by everyone who considers themselves a friend of peace, a friend of humanity, and a friend of the Palestinian people.
Excellency, eliminating Hamas today, when talking basically about eliminating Hamas, this is not something easy, especially that Iran has sent messages to Israel saying that there will be an intervention and that this conflict will be expanded. Is Israel ready for such a scenario?
Yes. First of all, we've made comparisons, not just in Israel, but across the world. Comparisons have been made between ISIS and Hamas. But in many ways, Hamas is more dangerous because unlike ISIS, Hamas has a state sponsor, and that state sponsor is Iran, that provides over 90% of the Hamas budget, that has given them arms, that trains them, that gives them other tangible logistic support. Hamas would not be the threat today that it is, if not for Iranian support. Now, we are thankful the Americans have moved, as you know, 2 battle aircraft carrier groups to the Eastern Mediterranean. Their goal is to deter anyone who thinks there's an opportunity now because of the fighting in the south to start another front. As you've reported, President Biden will be in Israel tomorrow. We are looking forward to meeting him and to our discussions. We will roll out the red carpet. But anyone who thinks that this is a time to attack Israel, we urge them to think again. If Hezbollah starts a war in the north, we don't want a war in the north, but if they start one, we will hit back against Hezbollah the same way we are hitting Hamas. And unfortunately, the people of Lebanon have to know that if if Hezbollah starts a war in the north, the Lebanon will unfortunately suffer great damage, because to defeat Hezbollah, and we will defeat Hezbollah, there will be much destruction in Lebanon. We don't want to see it. We hope the situation in the north can be more or less stable, but I fear that Hezbollah is going to drag Lebanon into a terrible, horrific situation.
Excellency, let me ask you now about the Palestinians heading to Sinai. According to the latest estimates, the ground invasion is led to, or is linked basically to the fact that the Palestinians are going to Sinai. The army is calling Palestinians to go to the south, which raises a lot of questions, especially that PM Benjamin Netanyahu also said that this will change the face of the Middle East. What do you say about displacing basically Gazans into Sinai? What's your say about this?
Sinai is sovereign Egyptian territory, and these are decisions for the Egyptian government. And I will not interfere with their decision-making process. I respect their sovereignty and I respect their right to make their own decisions. I would say that the international community has been, over the years, very, very open to accepting refugees from armed conflict. From Ukraine, millions of people have fled. From the terrible, brutal Syrian civil war, where, as you know, Hezbollah was aiding Iran and the Assad regime to stay in power. The millions of refugees fled. I think some 6 million to Turkey and over 1 million to Jordan, if my numbers are correct. So it's natural that refugees seek to exit a violent war situation. That is part of human behavior.
Let me conclude with you with a question that was asked from the beginning of this war, which is that Hamas was able to enter Israel in a very organized operation. And it seems that it was well conducted for a long time. To what extent do you think that this shows the Israel failures? And were you in Israel being able to evaluate this?
So you are correct. Israelis are not happy with how this war started, that Hamas took us by surprise. And many in Israel are making comparisons with the October 1973 war, which broke out 50 years ago this month, where Israel was attacked from the north on the south, and we were also unprepared. But like in 1973, if this war didn't start at our initiative, and if in the opening phase of the war, we suffered enormous losses. Yes, we lost over 1,000 people, 1,300 people in the south of Israel to these brutal Hamas killers. And you have to know, they did terrible, horrific things. They massively shot young people at an outside music conference in a ditch. They raped, they burnt people alive. They shot children in front of their parents and parents in front of their children. This is not Israel talking, this is what the international community is saying about Hamas. So it's crucial that we defeat Hamas. And I am hopeful that when this is over and Hamas has been destroyed, one, Israel will not have to live next to this terrorist enclave which attacks our people. Two, the people of Gaza will have a better government, a government that doesn't sacrifice them on the altar of this extremist, hateful, terrorist ideology. And thirdly, if we defeat Hamas, which is a vicious enemy of peace, I mean, we've been expanding the circle of peace over the last few years. Today, Israel has peace with Egypt, with Jordan, with Morocco, with UAE, with Bahrain. And there's even talk about expanding the circle of peace to include Saudi Arabia. Now, for Hamas and Iran, these agreements, this reconciliation between Israel and the Arab world is an existential threat. They oppose peace, they oppose reconciliation, they oppose Middle Eastern cooperation. And all those people who believe in peace, who believe in reconciliation, should support Israel as we defeat Hamas, because hopefully when we destroy Hamas, that will create space, that will create room for more pragmatic and more moderate voices to enter the room.
From Tel Aviv, Senior Advisor to Prime Minister, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, thank you so much for this intervention. Thank you for this
interview.
Done. Thank you.